Mm. Well, that sucks.
Oh, well, there it is. Hey.
Yes, sir. Well, I finally got to see the Bob Odenkirk movie.
Was there a call for you have to see this, or did I say you? When are you ever going to see the Bob Hope? You were saying it as if there was some imperative out there. I missed.
It's been away. It's been around for a while, and I just haven't seen it. I went to the Red Box again. $2. $2.
Didn't they just like double it? Wasn't it always one?
I got the Blu-ray, so I stepped up. I went super deluxe on it because I'm fancy like that.
Now, Blu-ray, isn't that movie that Jamie Foxx starred in?
That's the one. Dummy. Blu-ray, yeah.
When you say dummy, would you say it like Red Fox?
Dummy. I'm gonna put 5 upside your lips, dummy. Remember Mark Sanford and Son? The height of my comedy writing powers.
All right, we're early, but we feel good about.
Yes, we do.
Everything. Feel good about everything. Okay, ready?
Yep.
Good morning, and it's the Brad and Britt cast. We're glad you're with us. If you're live with us here early in the 10 o'clock Eastern hour. What do you think? Britt, we may have to adjust, and I know folks who listen in the podcast later on, they don't get this, but those folks with us live, they understand. 10 o'clock, that's the midday slot, Britt. We got to be more sensitive to the housewives at home with the kids. They're doing housework, they're juggling all kinds of things, and I think coming up in 15 minutes, some great recipes for chicken fricassee.
It's a different pace, a different energy at that time of the day. You guys got to be sensitive to that.
It is. Now I know that this isn't 1957 with Mom anymore, but doggone it, some things just never change. All right, we're done with that. That'll
be fine.
Now, you have some things too stupid to talk about, or I have my top 3 here. How would you like to go?
Well, I would like to start with this one because this is one that I just saw. They have a Fox News reporter that apparently approached Chris Cuomo when he was on vacation. The guy was asking very obnoxiously, do you believe the women, is what they were asking Chris Cuomo. Remember, this is on the heels of the worst thing that's ever happened in humanity, Tucker Carlson being approached in a fishing shop somewhere in Montana. But apparently it's like super funny if a Fox News reporter confronts Chris Cuomo on vacation after his brother. It says he'll resign. Do you believe the women, sir? Is what we've got going on here.
What was the what did he do? What did he say?
I think he just went away. Amid the scandal, the CNN vacation, Cuomo's brother announced that according to report in the video, the CNN host is seen walking from a pier toward his truck. For the most, Cuomo is reserved as he is prepped with the question, have you spoken to your brother today, sir? Cuomo can be heard saying yes. Did you advise him to step down? Are you continuing to advise him? Do you think that's an ethical conflict? I think you've got a job to do, and I'm letting you do it, said Cuomo. Thank you. So the reporter said, is your brother coming to East Hampton? Yes, Chris Cuomo says. If you wait here, he'll be here in 5 minutes. At one point, the reporter asked, do you believe the women, sir? And there's no answer. The reporter continues to be obnoxious and ridiculous. They don't even have the guy's name, whoever it was. They were supposed to make a name out of this thing.
It doesn't matter who it is. It's just great. Because it's a new, there's Fox News. There's going to soon be Fox Weather, which is all climate science denial all the time. Give us 22 minutes and we'll lie about the reason it's burning up California. That's going to be their slogan.
Right.
You know, there's Fox Broadcast, there's Fox Sports,
Mm-hmm.
and now there's a new part of the company called Fox Ambush. Fox Ambush.
I just love the idea that, again, the
Yeah.
worst thing that's ever happened to anyone was when somebody approached Tucker Carlson in front of his children,
Right.
and accosted him. But
Well,
this is just great.
I know, but putting aside what is always able to be pointed out with everything that they do, that they're hypocritical. The fact is that Chris Cuomo, apparently, it sounds like he was the one that convinced the still governor of New York to step away. So if you can clear away all the brush, all the why does CNN tolerate, blah, 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 he's on vacation. Let's lie about the reason why he's on vacation, even though he does take a vacation. He's running away, blah, 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 blah. And every person who ever gets in trouble on Fox fucking runs off for a month and they never talk about it. Put all that away. Right. Put all that away. In the end, it looks to me like Chris Cuomo was a valued advisor, a guy, a person, apparently, possibly, maybe the only human on earth who could speak truth to the powerful governor, because if there's one thing we know is not indisputable, everyone was afraid of this guy. Nobody ever told him no. Mm-hmm. Sound Trumpy to you? Yeah. Mm-hmm. It may be even worse in this case, because this is a smaller world, just, Albany, New York, the state capital. So Chris Cuomo, I'm sure it's true. It's not denied. He's not denying it. He's the one that told Andrew Cuomo to go. So to me, this will fade away. CNN has been put in a bad position, but they didn't help themselves along the way.
They didn't.
They should have never let Chris Cuomo have Andrew Cuomo on a year ago, acting like a goofball, and there's no doubt about that. No doubt about that. But that being said, we have to bottom line this.
Yeah.
And it's the fact that Chris Cuomo gave the right advice and he was listened to, and this will be over soon. Now, with that in mind, can we go straight to Alec Baldwin?
Sure.
Alec Baldwin, who is standing up for Andrew Cuomo and essentially saying, this is about cancel culture. Here we go again, another victim of cancel culture. And you know what? If Andrew Cuomo is a victim of cancel culture, bring it on. Bring on more of it. Again, let's make sure that we do understand that the reason that Andrew Cuomo is gone and can't dig in, can't defend himself, is getting or was to be impeached. He's walking away before the shit hits the fan, like Richard Nixon. The reason is because the Democratic Party is not a cult, okay? The Democratic Party is not a cult willing to defend anybody, anytime, over anything, no matter what. Right. The Republican Party is a cult. Why is Matt Gaetz still in Congress? I don't know, because the Republican Party is a cult, because
right.
They won't talk him. Okay, so that's it. And Alec Baldwin, I like him. I think he's a great interviewer. I love listening to his conversation, but he's got some blind spots in his life, to say the least. And this is probably not the moment to play the cancel culture card over this, because the evidence was overwhelming and is overwhelming, and Cuomo's not out of the legal woods yet. But this is the guy you're going to stand up for right now? I'll say one more thing, and then I'm going to lateral you the ball here. The thing that really just galls me about all of the different angles that Andrew Cuomo was trying to roll out there is this one about how he's from a different world, a different time, a different culture.
Right.
Essentially, it's as if he was born in 1917. I picked that year because that's the year John F. Kennedy was born. All right.
Okay.
So think of this. John F. Kennedy was president in the early 1960s. He was in his mid 40s, and he was the product of anything goes with chicks. Okay, and whether it was a mafia guy helping him score the chicks, or the Rat Pack Frank Sinatra with the chicks, and that whole thing, Rat Pack, Guys and Dolls. This is how you treat women. This is the way it goes. And I'm a product. No, you are 63 years old. All right, Britt, he's barely older than you, and
Right.
he's 3 years younger than me. So what you have to believe is that Andrew Cuomo has been completely comatose for decades, that nothing penetrated into him about what's going on in the world. Nothing penetrated into his head over what's happened to Donald Trump, except that Trump got away with it. So therefore, and for him to say this now, that he's like some old fart, okay, who just couldn't be expected to not be pinching the girls as they go by, figuratively speaking, is pathetic. He should be run out of town just for that. That's my statement.
And also, in addition to what you're saying, you know that you're on the wrong side of this when Tucker Carlson is defending you. Now, this story is about Tucker specifically sticking up for Chris Cuomo and loyalty to the family, but Tucker Carlson was also bringing up some of the problems, saying that there's somewhat of a specious investigation into Andrew Cuomo, and I think I'm not okay with this. So you know that when Tucker Carlson is sticking up for you, you're wrong.
Right.
You're
right.
100%
no doubt.
wrong.
There is no doubt you can ad hominem this particular aspect of the story. If he's doing it on purpose,
right?
Okay, with 5 motives in mind, and guess what? One of those motives is it's defending Trump.
Yeah,
it's a backhanded way of saying, Cuomo should have been treated like Trump was treated, which was he gets away with it. Okay?
Exactly.
So
exactly.
There's enough on that.
This
Hey, I got
the same Tucker Carlson that would have been murdering Andrew Cuomo a few months ago over some of the old folks home stuff, right?
Right.
Same guy.
Let me give you my. We've already done one of them, so I'm gonna give you 2 choices here. Ready?
Okay.
Mr. Bluegrass T. Quackendorf of Kentucky gets the hook, or one or 2 of these have lowered standards for intelligence: Oregon and or Jeopardy.
Wow, that's a tough one. Let's go to the bluegrass state of Kentucky, which is actually a Commonwealth. Let's check that out, because we talked a little bit about Kentucky yesterday and how Mitch McConnell would be helping to build that bridge from Covington over to Cincinnati. What's happening in Kentucky?
Well, this has nothing to do with that, actually. Yeah, Rand Paul has been suspended by YouTube, so that's Alphabet, Google. Okay, I believe. I don't know what. Let me check. Is this an indefinite? 7 days.
7 days.
He's got 7 days on the bench for putting out that hysterically idiotic, and I hysterically, I mean his brain is hysterical. It's not correct, not funny.
Right.
This crazy video that was widely circulated on Monday and Tuesday, that the coronavirus vaccine doesn't work, masks are ineffective, blah blah. Under the you can't put out disinformation or we're going to tag you kind of thing. And naturally, and we know this cycle, it suddenly becomes, I've been censored, First Amendment, Google too powerful, they need to be broken up, where are my free speech rights, I'm correct, how come you let blah 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 be on there, I am a martyr, I am the symbol of freedom of speech for all of you people who believe my version of whatever science is, which is nothing, which is why I call him Dr. Bluegrass T. Quackendorf. Now, let me explain this to you, but the Kentucky is known as the bluegrass state. A lot of people don't know
what
this.
I hear. Yeah, the grass is not actually blue, though. It's strange.
I know.
It's the hottest thing.
Yeah. So I guess they have a 3 strikes and you're out policy. They've warned him a couple of times. So he not only is he clearly not really upset. This is what they do. I'm sure the fundraising letter is already in everyone's email box and on their Twitter feed by now, who follows this guy. And there you have it. He's
it's too bad
he's
the
a
Duke
peak,
University.
isn't he?
It's too bad the Duke University doesn't have a 3 strikes and you're out. Richard Nixon, Stephen Miller, Rand Paul.
Oh
Out.
boy. You know what? That is a Hall of Fame. You used to think that Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth, right? And
it's the asshole murderers row.
Some other guy. Yeah, we're great hitters. You couldn't get them out, but these 3, whoa, Duke, way to go! Excellent work there. Oh God! And by the way, remember this follows the oppression quotient of Google and YouTube and Facebook and Twitter against Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's on the ice for a week from Twitter because she tweeted out that the Food and Drug Administration should not approve the COVID vaccines because they're failing and they're ineffective at reducing the virus's spread. Gee, which one of those parts of that statement is the most accurate, and which one is the least most accurate?
There's a guy. There's a guy who used to wrestle for World Wrestling Entertainment, and his name is Glenn Jacobs, and he went by the character name of Kane. He is now the mayor of Knox County, Tennessee, where Knoxville is. Apparently, they have counties with mayors anyway, and he retweeted this particular story from the Wall Street Journal. I'll show it to everybody. It's an opinion piece. It says the case against masks for children.
Right.
Well, you know what piece or what you saw, but that
right.
That was,
we referenced this yesterday because there were 2 big pieces on each side of this. This is the one that you're talking about, and then there was the one in the New York Times.
Well, the Times is a real one. This one, the people who did it have been discredited. It was completely,
really?
It's complete
already.
Bullshit. And like even they knew publishing this going, and this is well discredited. And like the person who was the lead person in the study was fired from their job, but they still put they still put this shit out there. And again, it goes into the public discussion, and people are allowed to disseminate this rather false information.
Right, but that is absolutely the point.
Yeah,
because here you have a truly mainstream, supposedly credible instrument, the Wall Street Journal, either getting taken in, not being diligent enough in their editing process, or even worse, not caring. Right. And being just like any third-rate gateway pundit hack blogger, putting shit out there that they know is not true, but it's more important to support the team, support Ron DeSantis, support Greg Abbott, support the governors, and support the people who are claiming this false idea that mask mandates at the local level are outrageous, and we're going to tell you can't do them. And it's fallen everywhere. In Texas today, here you go. A couple of judges have ruled in favor, I believe, of San Antonio being able to do it. So we're really operating on a thin line here, where we're depending on judges to stop the flood of idiocy. And that's not a good place to be, because, as you know, the judicial branch sometimes is not playing it down the middle. I mean, we've been lucky so far. We've been even lucky at the Supreme Court level a few months ago. I mean, just imagine if the Supreme Court had gone full hack.
Right.
They didn't. They did not go full hack and go into the tank for Donald Trump. But theoretically they could have, and he was counting on that. He was absolutely counting on that from the "you owe me" I appointed you.
Just a little more detail on the story and the piece in the Wall Street Journal. Kimberly Prather is a PhD at the University of California, San Diego, has all the bona fides. And she said that they cited a story based on a retracted paper on kids' mask where the lead author lost his job. That's what they were citing in that piece from the Wall Street Journal. Of course, they would not tell you that.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what I'll do when we get done, because I don't want to try to do this while we're here. I'm gonna dig deeper into this story and look at today's Wall Street Journal. I get it online. I got a great offer like about 6 months ago. It's $1 a week, right? It's $1 a week for all the online stuff. And on Saturday, I get the weekend edition, which is actually the best edition of that paper ever. I get that for a year for $40. I thought that was a good deal.
It is a good deal.
But so I will dive down in there. Anybody else who wants to, of course, can do it. Sure. I just want to see how bad this is, because this is a scandal to me.
It
just
should
off
be.
the top of because remember yesterday how I was talking about this? I was saying, here's one that is well credentialed in the Times, and here's another that is equally well credentialed in the Wall Street Journal. It was like a red-blue divide perfectly in the media and among academics, and may the best article win. Now it turns out it was never a contest, was it? It was it was fixed.
Well, that's the point of everything that they do, particularly in right wing land, is you have this here, but you also have this here. So these are equal things to be considered with the exact same weight, and they make it look good. They polish it up, but it's still a turd.
Right, but this is worse than that. Okay, because every contrary opinion to prevailing opinion isn't automatically wrong, but it's automatically horrible if that contrary opinion is knowingly based on discredited false information. We're not even in the same ballpark. So I'm glad you pointed that out, because I hadn't seen that this morning. Had not.
This is and for the record, the murderers row for the 27 Yankees was Earl Combs, Mark Koenig, Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Bob Musial, and Tony Lazzeri. I believe 3 of those or 4 of those gentlemen are in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, sure. Well, they played then.
In 1926. You had a Jeopardy style thing that you wanted to throw at us as well.
Yeah. So I'm watching Jeopardy yesterday for 2 seconds, because I wanted to see how Joe Buck was doing as the host. And aside from the usual I hate Joe Buck blogs and Twitter shit, because there's a guy that he really loves it. I really do think he enjoys the hate, because it's sports hate. It's not real. It doesn't really count. And one time they did a promo for him, and he's out in the street, and they're like, "Hey, we're trying to film some stuff for Joe Buck to watch football." And they go, "Let's do a take 3, 2," and he'd start speaking, and somebody go, "Hey, you suck!" And they did that for for a minute. Stuff like that. So he definitely plays with the image, and it's great. I mean, all right. So I think I can get get you the audio on this one. This is a good one. Here we go. This was yesterday.
The Woolworth's lunch counter in this North Carolina city was the site of nonviolent protest. Matt?
What's Greensboro?
You got it.
All right.
Did you hear how he did it? Let me play it again.
Correct. Protest 6. On February 1st, 1960, a Woolworth's lunch counter in this North Carolina city was the site of nonviolent protest. Matt?
What's Greensboro?
You got it.
Okay. Now, he was thinking, and this is the guy that's like won, $400,000. He can't be beaten so far.
Well, he's trying not to go Greenville, right? He's trying to look.
I couldn't decide whether it was Greenville, Green Bay, Green Eggs and Ham. There was the Green River Killer.
Well, there's like 20 different states that have a Greenville of some sort. Right, so I think
there's one of my favorite songs by the New Christie Minstrels, Green Green.
Sure.
It's green, they say. So he did get it right. But here, and I turned it on just as this question was coming up. Thank God for DVRs. If there was no DVR, I would just have to tell you about it, and it wouldn't work. But I posted it, and it enabled me to go off on a tangential rant now about Jeopardy, just in general, not having anything to do with any hosting issues, because this goes back into a lot of the later Trebek years of complete abandonment of standards on what constitutes an accurate question to the answers that are up there. Because there was a time, and Britt, I don't mean to be the old man on the TV watching Jeopardy porch, but here we go. Number one, the line you used to hear all the time, form of a question, please. That doesn't happen anymore. You can just give the answer. You do not have to ask it in the form of a question. I consider that a lack of discipline on people's part. This is the game. This is how you have to play it. It isn't just a question answer game. You have to form the correct way to respond. Okay, that's gone. I can live with that, sort of. Because that was a formality. Didn't really change anything that much.
But it made the game. It did make the game different than any other game. I mean, it was the sauce, the secret sauce in a sense that made it different.
I agree. And God bless the memory of the great Merv Griffin, who developed Jeopardy. I think it was his idea.
Yeah. God bless him.
God bless him.
He didn't harass women. He just harassed men. That's all.
Right. All right. But so two more things here. The other thing is they now accept, without any question, one-word answers. Proper names that only have the last name given by the contestant. In other words,
Smith.
If the question is, and I'll pick a fairly popular name, this president picked up his dog by his ears and got attacked for it in public, was criticized.
Who was Johnson?
But you can't see, that should not be an acceptable answer.
It shouldn't.
It should not. First of all, there was another president named Johnson, right? And it doesn't. Now you can say, all right, of course he knew it was Lyndon. That's not the point.
I mean, like if they said which president had a shoe thrown at him at an Iraqi press conference, then you just said Bush. Would that be okay? Right. Would that be fine?
Britt, in today's world of Jeopardy, the answer is yes. They would not make you qualify it. I don't like that. And the other thing is, and this may only apply to this guy. I don't know if you've been watching. I mean, it's been on for a month now. He wins every time. He uses the wrong interrogative when he does begin his answer. In other words, if I asked you, we'll do sports again. Which baseball team has won the most World Series going back 100 years? Your answer would be, who are the Yankees? Right? He will say, what are Yankees?
That's fine.
Yeah. Or he will use it with a proper name, and we'll go back to, he would go, what's Johnson? And what is wrong with you? What is going on? It should not be that way. No, the children are watching. The children are watching, and something needs to be done. And by the way, I was going to get into this as part of one of my big three, and it was going to be one or both of these have lowered standards for intelligence. Is it Oregon or Jeopardy? Now, the Oregon story is an interesting one, and the only reason I hesitate on it is because the right wingers have jumped on this as it's the end of the world. It's more proof that Oregon is blah, 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 blah. And until you know all the facts, until you hear more and hear the reasoning, it reminds me of what happened when the idea of pass-fail was introduced in schools. And that was when I was in school. They started with some courses were pass-fail. And that's the end of the world. You can't give grades anymore. They're letting people get by, right? And that didn't seem to kill us off. But here you go. This is Oregon. Their governor, her name is Kate Brown.
Okay.
She signed a bill privately, very problematic, of course, that ended the requirement in Oregon for high school students to prove that they can read, write, and do math, proficiency in them before they graduate. And the reasons are familiar sounding. The Democrats who supported her say that this is unfair to minorities, the Black, Latino, Latinx, Indigenous, Asian, Pacific Islander, tribal, and students of color.
But by the way, it's not
so that
it's not Latinx, it's Latinx.
Well,
That's how
not
you
my
pronounce
world, not at the VFW hall that I go to, buddy.
Yeah, there's and you can see who's trumpeting this. That's a Fox News headline about those fuzzy-headed liberals up in Oregon being stupid.
So whenever they jump on something like this, it's again, it's Fox News, Fox Sports, Fox Broadcast, Fox Ambush, and Fox Fake Outrage. Okay, that's another division that they have. They've actually hired 100 people to dig up this shit and go nuts over it. And there's a lot of layers to it, and testing. It's a tough thing in a diverse country. It's a tough thing to say everybody has to be held to this standard. There are moments where I think that we are in trouble because of that, and then there are other moments where, you know what, there are a lot of people who are really smart and proficient in things that I don't understand at all, and they're intelligent people. So who am I to judge? I'm on the fence on this one. I don't know, but at a certain point, you do have to measure. That's all I can tell you.
There is a measurement there.
Okay. Yes, that's what she said. Shut up.
Speaking of things that are too stupid for us to talk about, let's go for it. The My Pillow guy, Mike Lindell, with his symposium on stupidity taking place in South Dakota. He immediately had to delay the beginning of this particular bullshit convention, Brad, because he said he had been hacked. But they are continuing to go crazy. There's Mike Lindell vowing to stay up for 72 hours straight, which is not a sign of any sort of manic anything or any sort of mental illness. And there it is. The My Pillow symposium is another font of election fraud lies. Too stupid for us to talk about, Brad?
Yeah, I hadn't heard about this, but I have to tell you something. I like it. I think it's what's needed. Of course, the first thing that jumps out to me, the hilarity of you have to go to South Dakota to do this.
Yeah.
Which, as you know, is the media capital of the Midwest. I'm not. Britt, what's that giant station in Fargo that Holland used to always talk about?
I can't remember.
You know,
you know
which one I'm.
I know. It's a massive.
He was a
one.
consultant out there. It's our friend Holland Cook who
he would play tapes from us. These two girls on the air there, and I just think that perhaps we shouldn't use sponges around the kitchen as much as possible. What do you think? 860-414. Oh, KDAY. It's K-Day, right?
K-Day. You're right.
It's KDAY. 860-KDAY. We're going to talk about sponges. I like the yellow ones, but my sister Sue here, she's a fan of the green ones. And this would be the show that we would listen to. I think he wanted to get clearance in Minnesota, but even Minnesota said, we're not okay with a bunch of people during the Delta variant time, like breathing on each other, coughing on each other, and killing each other.
So you're going to supposed to be a gathering in an auditorium or
it's a massive
studio or
of course. I mean, and as you know, South Dakota is totally, down to clown when it comes to the virus. They love all that shit. There he is. And Mike Lindell, who is apparently breaking down.
Right. So this is kind of a would-be Woodstock for wackos.
It is, and they continue to spread their bullshit. And I think he's finally come off the idea that Trump is not going to be inaugurated or installed, however he was saying it, in just a few days, because the deadline was coming down.
Britt, you know what that means. That just means the greatness, the moment is delayed. It's never over. The line always gets moved out. I mean, the people that you and I can recall 35 years ago saying we've only got 2 weeks before the world ends. Pat Robertson, every time a hurricane would come or every time Disney World would change their rules about admitting gay people into the park, right? It was the big one is going to wipe out Orlando. And so that's one of the main tenets of doomsday prophecy. And in this case, the doomsday prophecy is Donald Trump being resurrected a la Jesus to the position of president of the United States here by order of God. Order of God.
Did you you ever have anybody in your life and they cleaned up, they stopped drinking or stopped doing drugs or something, and after a little while you're like, I kind of liked it better when you were back on drugs? I mean, would there be a marked difference between Mike Lindell on crack and off crack? I'm just wondering, would there be a marked difference between those two people?
Well, your question is, do I know? The answer is I actually don't. I don't. But putting whatever I know aside, I think you may have zeroed in on something that needs to really be examined, because I've never read anything about people who knew Lindell when he was a crack addict,
Right.
People who were part of his life back then. He doesn't seem to have much of a public biography, really, although maybe he has written a book, I think, about himself, and I just haven't read it, and I'm not well versed enough to know. But again, yeah, probably on crack. You can go, well, could he be any worse than he is now, or was that a soothing, smoothing over experience for him? Being on crack, because unless I'm wrong, most people on crack, they do crazy, terrible things very often, if not just to try to obtain the crack.
Well, there's a lot of manic shit going on there, is what I'm thinking. And it just seems like there's a lot of manic shit. And here's the other thing about this. If I can play amateur psychiatrist or psychologist, I think you know a little more about this, or somebody in your house does. When you have someone who is hooked on a substance, whether it's alcohol or whether it's drugs, whatever it is, and they decide I'm going to quit, but they don't go through a program and take even medications if needed. They just kind of replace that addiction with something else. A lot of times it's religion. They'll just go over here, and the new addiction is now Jesus, right? Mm-hmm. So you don't really cure yourself of being an addict. You just replace it with something else that's a little more socially acceptable. And it appears to me that may be what have happened in Mike Lindell's life. He's this culture war Jesus thing seems to have replaced the crack in his life.
My question is, wasn't making a ton of money and building, no matter what we think of it, a very successful business, why wasn't that enough for you? And then use the money to help worthy causes instead of becoming this complete crackpot crank, enthralled with Donald Trump. I mean, these things don't happen by accident. He made these choices. So, because millions, the vast majority of Americans right now, they're worried about making the rent. They're worried about their kids getting back in school safely. They're worried about all kinds of things, and they don't have a lot of money. And he does. And in his own world, he was fairly well respected, even if he was, like Ron Popeil kind of laughed at. Although, you know what? Have you noticed as the days tick on, Popeil's standing is going up and up and up every day. And even smart politicians are and have noticed his ability to deliver a message, because politicians are all about, how do I get my message out to people? And if you go back over 50 years of the way Popeil peddled his products, they weren't political campaigns, but they were messages about stuff, and they got through. He was able to convince people to buy things they didn't need with money they might not have had. But again, since it was only 1999, it's a little different than Bernie Madoff saying, turn over your life savings to me and I'll make you richer. So anyway, so Popeil goes up and Lindell goes down every day. So he didn't learn the lesson of the Vegematic guy. That's his problem. He just didn't get there.
Well, the secret of Ron Popeil is not, I don't think there's any great Shakespeare. He was a great salesman. Yeah. He was a very good salesman. I've always respected that. I don't have that gene. Some people have that gene. I don't care Ron Popeil could have been selling anything. He could have gone door to door. He could have done it on television. He could have done it in any medium possible. He would have been good at selling stuff. Period. Zip. End of story. Full stop. I mean, that guy was like one of the best salesmen in the history of this company or this country.
All right, I got one here. We got a new survey here from the good folks at the Kaiser Family Foundation, and it's a survey about masks. 63% of parents want masks required in schools for people who are unvaccinated. Now,
I'll say that again for those who may have missed it. I want to hear you.
But
say
wait
it
a minute,
again.
because again, it's actually to me a very distressing number. 63% of parents wanted masks required in schools for people who are unvaccinated. You don't need just a majority, 63%. You would expect, if we had a logical world, that 100% of parents right now should want masks required for people who are unvaccinated in schools. But it's not that way. So you live with the 63%. And we talked about this a few weeks ago before the Delta variant was where it is right now. And I said, holy shit, when they finally get around to approving the coronavirus vaccines for kids, we're going to have millions of parents laying their political prejudices and their stupidity on their kids and not allowing them to get vaccinated. So they're starting to ask this right now before it's approved. And the survey said 1 in 5 parents of ages 12 to 17, and this isn't the younger kids, these are the kids who are eligible to get the vaccine right now. 1 in 5, 20%, say their kid is definitely not going to get vaccinated. All right, so out of 100%, now I take out 20 of them, that's 80 left. And all 80, just because nothing is ever unanimous, they're not all going to get vaccinated. So maybe you're down to 70 or 60% of kids in high school, middle school and high school, that are going to be vaccinated. That ain't going to cut it. They ain't going to cut it. But then you have the subset of people who don't want their kids wearing masks. They just said that's just, they're going to get zits from it. Okay. they don't breathe well.
That's one of the arguments. That's literally one of the arguments. Yeah.
All right. So more. Here we go. 88% of parents whose children were unvaccinated say they were very concerned that not enough is known about the long-term effects of COVID-19 vaccines. And 79, no. See, the premise of the question, it's kind of a trick question, because of course the real issue is, what are the long-term effects of getting COVID, not the long-term effects of getting the vaccine. There's just no evidence. I don't even know why they asked the question that way. It almost allows these people to spit out their worst instincts. And last thing here, the attitudes towards vaccination, of course, as you might guess, break down along racial and ethnic and partisan lines. Here we go. Black and Hispanic parents were more likely than white parents to cite concerns that reflect access barriers to inoculation, including not being able to get a vaccine from a trusted place or believing that they might have to pay for it. And 2/3 of Democratic parents, here we go, they favor mask and vaccine mandates. More than 3/4 of Republicans oppose them. You could not dig a bigger ditch to have a divide based on politics over something that, and by the way, Britt, next person you hear say this on TV, reach through your TV and smack them. This just shouldn't be about politics. It's about health. Well, of course it is. And of course you're right. And of course it isn't. And when we strip it all away, what does it all go back to? It goes back to Trump. Trump did this. He set this flame going on this issue. He started it. If you would have had a supportive president, not Donald Trump, anybody but Trump, ABT, a year and a half ago, come out immediately wearing a mask early on wearing a mask.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, we would not be where we are now.
Instead of bleach and hydroxychloroquine and all this other nonsense? You mean,
Well,
is that
remember,
what you're saying?
the whole issue, remember, masks That was early. That was even
Yeah.
before that shit happened.
Yeah,
right?
but it was all one seamless ball.
Right. Yeah. Why wear a mask when I can put Clorox in your ass?
That's right.
That was what? So we're nowhere close to being where we want to be because of the ignorance of the American people. And in a ruling, this is yesterday, by some federal judges down in Florida, smacking down Ron DeSantis because it was Ron DeSantis who was telling Norwegian Cruise Lines, a private company, think about this, Norwegian Cruise Line, a private company, that they were not allowed to set a rule saying, if you're going to cruise on our cruise ships, you have to be vaccinated. DeSantis wanted to stop that. He's bad enough with masks in schools for kids, trying to take away the pay of all the superintendents and local school officials and local government officials who know better than he does. And he's just thinking that this is playing to the cheap seats. It's going to get him the nomination in 24 for president. But the federal judges said to DeSantis, what the fuck is wrong with you? You're out of your mind. And the line that stands out to me best is that unvaccinated people are not a protected class.
Correct.
Unvaccinated people are the problem. That was a federal judge who put that in the ruling. To me, you can just stop the music right there because that's everything.
Ball game.
Yeah, because they're trying to term this. You see where it's been going. That this is discrimination, like racial discrimination, gender discrimination, religious discrimination. Yes, freedom to not be vaccinated, discrimination against that. No, it's not. The judge said NFW.
Right. The ignorant are not a protected class. We can't do that. Have you seen, we finish up on this note. Have you seen this video from Cory Booker giving an extremely sarcastic, overly enthusiastic speech on the Senate floor? Tommy Tuberville, the former Auburn coach and current Alabama senator who is a complete asshole, had proposed an amendment that cities that defund the police should not get any federal money. And Cory Booker took the time, you should really seek out this video, to say, I am so happy that my colleague on the other side of the aisle has presented this. And I think this is a great way for us as Democrats to say that we are against defunding the police. And I ask for unanimous consent on motherhood and apple pie. The Senator Tuberville's measure passed 99 to zip. I believe Mike Rounds, the Republican senator from, I think, South Dakota, I think he was off treating an ill parent or something like that. So he was not available. 99 to zip. You should really seek out this Cory Booker thing because it's very good.
Tuberville's thing was 99 nothing, or
it
Cory
was
Booker?
No, it was 99 to zip. It was not. All the Democrats said, yes, if there's a city that's going to defund the police, they will not get any federal money from us, and we're on board. We're on the record, so shut the fuck up about us being for defunding the police. And that's what Cory Booker was celebrating.
Okay, you know what? That's great. I love Cory Booker. Here's the problem. There isn't just one branch of Congress. There's another one. And there are several members of the House of Representatives, and you know who they are.
Yeah.
And if this kind of vote was put up over in the House, I'm not 100% sure that you'd get unanimous consent, no one objecting to this.
Well, that's why it's good that the Democrats are in control of this. They can't go up for a vote in the House. They can't bring it up because there would be a few who would vote. Yeah, they would definitely vote against this.
Right. So this is a continuing problem. It's not going away. And you see what the broad lines that are being drawn here are right now. And if Democrats are not willing to go toe-to-toe on this culture war bullshit, and it is bullshit, but it must be answered. It must be attacked. And Cory Booker sounds to me like he did a beautiful job of putting it out there. Although I never underestimate the ability of, say, Fox to portray this as a sneering attempt to get away from the fact that Democrats really want to defund the police. This is how they'll term it. Media fawns over Cory Booker not taking the issue seriously when the fact is the Democrats really don't like the police and want to, in other words, this is the problem, Britt. It does not matter how well they do, but they can't run from this, and they can't just campaign on, we may be getting a gigantic infrastructure bill. We may be getting all the kinds of programs in the other piece of legislation, the multi-trillion-dollar legislation that we're hopefully going to see get through to help families and to help with child care and the quote-unquote human infrastructure. That's not going to work among enough independents that Democrats will be able to hold the House and or the Senate. They will lose if they think that the culture war bullshit will be taken out by substantial facts. What do you want? Facts or bullshit? What wins elections in this country? Bullshit. Yeah. Mostly. I heard a great portrayal of the 3.5 trillion bigger non-bricks and mortar infrastructure bill that the Democrats are trying to get through here. It's through the Senate, but it's over in the House. That's the issue. And I believe it was Joan Walsh, now of The Nation magazine, who said, the Democrats cannot sell this as human infrastructure. I cannot think of a more boring, wonky, non-understandable, pointless piece of shit phraseology than that, okay? Because what they need to do is, if that phrase is going to be used, they need to remind everyone that the following things were human infrastructure: Social Security, Medicare.
That's it.
Now, are you against the humanity of Social Security? Are you against the humanity of Medicare? Because if you are, then you will be against the humanity of child care today.
True.
You will be against all of the health care measures that are part of this package. You have to take it to them on their own turf. Mm-hmm. You've got to control the language. This is the oldest cliche in the book, but it's not wrong.
Well, that's the Frank Luntz thing, was always the language thing, for sure.
Right. So that's it. So anything else? How those Raiders doing pre-camp?
Well, there's a lot of pre-camp drama. It's the mind games between Gruden and Carr continue. It's going to be it's interesting to see some fans in that stadium, or will there be? Stay tuned, everybody.
Okay. We'll see you tomorrow.
Back to regular time on Thursday.